Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the part 6 of the respiratory system. Due to request from some of the students that they are unable to learn well by using computerized teaching, I have started this board teaching today as a part 6 of video lecture on the respiratory system from the chapter Life Processes of 10th CBSE, and I will go further in detail at 11th and 12th level. So as you can see in this diagram, the first and external part of the respiratory system is shown here, that is the nostrils. Okay, I have zoomed in the diagram. So let's see the nostrils, which are also called as nares. Then the next part starts, that is pharynx. Okay, pharynx is divided into three kind of subdivisions. What are these subdivisions? These are nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx, which are shown in this diagram. So pharynx region is subdivided into or differentiated into three kind of parts: nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. By using reverse arrows, I have shown all these three subdivisions of pharynx in the diagram. Now let's go further. Here near the region of main pharynx part, epiglottis is also present, and the vibrating rings that produce sound are also present near the pharynx region. Below pharynx, larynx is there, and near pharynx epiglottis is also present, which I cannot show in this diagram. Vertically you can see the epiglottis in a cross section diagram as shown in the previous part 5 and part 4 of the videos. Okay, below the pharynx larynx is there, below the larynx windpipe is there. The windpipe is responsible for inspirated air to go inside lung and expirated air from lungs to go towards the nostrils. Okay, so windpipe function for inhalation and exhalation of air from nares or nostrils to lung and from lung to the nostrils. Then windpipe, how it is in shape, how it maintains its shape due to the trachea rings present, which are made up of cartilage. These trachea rings support the shape, protects the shape, due to which the windpipe remain open. Okay, so below this windpipe, it is branched into two kind of small tubes, which are right main bronchus, as you can see in the diagram, and left main bronchus. These both two rings, which are tubes formed from the main windpipe, are primary bronchus structures. Both right main bronchus and left main bronchus is primary bronchus structure. Below that, when the branching occurs just in front of fifth thoracic vertebra of the spine. Okay, then after branching, it is divided, or you can say it is differentiated into various subdivisions of the bronchus. The primary bronchus get differentiated into secondary bronchus get differentiated into tertiary bronchus. The tertiary bronchus at their end are having alveolar ducts and alveoli. Okay, so the whole differentiation, as you can see in diagram, is known as bronchial tree, as mentioned here in the diagram, as labeled here in the diagram. Okay, the right lung and left lung are surrounded to this bronchial tree. In both the lungs the bronchial tree is present. I have shown it only in the right lung, but in the both lungs the bronchial tree is present. At the end of the bronchial tree, alveolar sacs are present. Okay, the right lung is divided into three lobes, while the left lung is divided into two lobes. which are also covered by two layers. The outer layer is known as parietal pleura and the inner layer of the lung covering is known as visceral pleura. In between parietal pleura and visceral pleura, the outer and inner layer covering the lung, there is a fluid present known as pleural fluid. Okay, you can see the composition of pleural fluid in the part 5 video comments or part 4 video comments. I have mentioned it there because one of the students asked me about the pleural fluid composition. Then what is this end structure of the main bronchus, primary bronchus, which is looking like this? This grape like structure is known as alveolar sac, in which all things are alveoli together. Okay, the single unit you can call as alveolus, means bunch of grapes is alveolar sac and the grapes inside that bunch are alveoli. One single grape is known as alveolus, or you can say it as cauliflower like structure also. Then how this single unit works, you can see here. This single unit works as this. This single unit alveolus is surrounded by a network of capillaries. The network of capillaries come with blood and RBCs from the body carrying CO2. Okay, and this CO2 is exchanged here near the surface of alveolus with O2. CO2 is taken inside alveolus for exhalation and O2 is taken inside, which is the air which is inhaled. Okay, then let's see about the diaphragm structure. Below the two lung structure, the diaphragm is there. You can also see a cleft near the left lung. That cleft is for the heart to be positioned anatomically inside the body. This cleft at the lower left part of the left lung is for the heart. Okay, then let's see about other things that we should know. So these are the other things. What are these other things? Let's see about this. TV. What is this TV shown here? TV means the volume of air that we inspire or expire during a normal respiration. Okay, what is TV? The volume of air that we inspire or expire during a normal respiration process or normal breathing. That is approximately 500 ml or half a liter during a single breath. But as we can see, the breathing is mentioned in minutes also in some books. So we breathe nearly about 10 to 12 times. So per minute, the TV, the volume of air that we inspire, that means we take inside through nostrils inside the lungs, or we expire means we throw out through nostrils from the lungs, that is 600 ml per minute. Okay, because we breathe 10 to 12 times a minute. That is TV. Okay, tidal volume. What is the meaning of TV? Tidal volume. What is IRV? IRV is the inspiratory reserve volume. What is inspiratory reserve volume? Inspiratory volume more than the tidal volume is known as inspiratory reserve volume. As you can see, I have mentioned it in the bracket. The tidal volume plus forced inspiration volume is known as IRV. That is approximately 300 ml, means 3 liters of air. What is ERV? ERV means EV more than the TV. Expired volume more than the tidal volume expired. Okay, so the normal volume that we expire, that is normal tidal volume. So after the tidal volume, whichever air we can forcibly expire after normal expiration process, that is TV plus forcibly expired volume, is known as expiratory reserved volume. Okay, what is RV? RV is residual volume. Okay, respiratory volume after forcible expiration. Okay, respiratory volume after forcible expiration is known as RV. That is about 1100 ml to 1200 ml, means after normal expiration if we forcibly expire that volume is 1100 ml, that is 1.1 liters of air, then what is IC? It is inspiratory capacity. What is this inspiratory capacity? It is tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume. Then what is expiratory capacity? Tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume is expiratory capacity. What is FRV? FRV is, the FRV is also known as FRC. As we can see, the volume of air that will remain in the lungs after a normal expiration is known as FRV or FRC. Okay, the volume of air, that is residual volume after a normal respiration, is known as FRV or FRC. Functional residual capacity or functional residual volume are both the same terms. Then let's see about how it can be shown in bracket. ERV, expiratory reserve volume, plus RV. What is RV? Residual volume. Okay. What is VC? The maximum volume after forcible expiration is known as VC, vital capacity or vital volume. You can also say it vital volume. Then the next point is total lung capacity. The total lung capacity is total volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of a forced inspiration. Okay, this includes RV, ERV, TV and IRV or vital capacity plus residual volume. Now let's see about the next point, that is the exchange of gases. How this exchange of gases occurs? The exchange of gases occurs from the air that we breathe inside through the alveoli through simple diffusion process. Which process? Simple diffusion process. That depends on the solubility of gases and the thickness of tissue structure. Okay, solubility of gases is also important and the thickness of tissue structure or tissue layers is also important for this exchange of gases at alveoli level, where the alveoli are covered with capillaries of blood network. Okay, so the basic thing is that about the exchange of gases, CO2 is exchanged and the O2 is taken inside. When and how? Let's see. The CO2, which is produced as a digestive activity after the consumption of nutrients as a waste product, is produced inside the tissue. The tissue sends this CO2 to the blood. The blood network take this from the heart and pumps towards the lungs. Through alveoli, it goes towards the bronchi. Through bronchi, it goes towards the bronchus. From bronchus, the CO2 goes inside the windpipe from both the right and left lungs, and from windpipe it goes inside the pharynx. From pharynx it goes to the nostrils, and from nostrils it goes outside the body. Then how this O2 is exchanged? From nostrils along with atmospheric air and other gases, O2 enters pharynx, then the O2 enters the windpipe. After the O2 enters the windpipe, it goes into the primary bronchus structures of left and right. Then it goes into primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi. From these, it goes to the alveolar ducts, and then inside alveoli, near alveoli, which are surrounded by blood capillaries, the O2 is exchanged there. CO2 is taken up and O2 is taken inside the blood. So this oxygenated blood goes again through the heart and goes inside the upper and lower body. From upper and lower body tissues, again the deoxygenated blood is flown toward the heart. Through heart and blood, it goes near alveoli again. This process continues. This is known as gaseous exchange. So let's see how these are working together, means simultaneous exchange of CO2 from tissue to alveoli and simultaneous intake of O2 from the lungs to alveoli and from alveoli to blood. Let's see. Alveoli are the primary sites of exchange of gases. Exchange of gases also occur between blood and tissues. O2 and CO2 are exchanged in these sites by simple diffusion, mainly based on pressure or concentration gradient. The solubility of gases as well as the thickness of the membranes involved in diffusion are also some important factors that can affect the rate of diffusion. Pressure contributed by an individual gas in a mixture of gases is called partial pressure and is represented as PO2 for oxygen and PCO2 for carbon dioxide. So what is the pressure? The pressure contributed by an individual gas in a mixture of gases. Pressure contributed by an individual gas in a mixture of gases is called as partial pressure, denoted as PO2 for partial pressure of oxygen and denoted as PCO2 for partial pressure of carbon dioxide. So let's see partial pressures of these two gases in the atmospheric air and the two sites of diffusion are given in the table. As you can see, these are mentioned in mmHg pressure. So you can see the table clearly here in the table. These pressures are mentioned. How these are mentioned? Let's see. Okay, so these are the pressures exerted by O2 and CO2 in a mixture of gases that are known as partial pressures. Okay, so let's see the partial pressure of O2. It is in atmospheric air is about 159 mmHg. The unit for partial pressure is millimeter Hg, millimeter of mercury, mmHg. So O2 exerts partial pressure of 159 mmHg in atmospheric air, while CO2 exerts the atmospheric pressure of 0.3 mmHg in atmospheric air. Okay, the partial pressure for CO2 in atmospheric air is 0.3. Then in alveoli, the O2 exerts or O2 gives the pressure of 104 millimeter Hg. Okay, for CO2 in alveoli this pressure is 40. It is denoted as PO2 and PCO2. Okay, then in blood which is deoxygenated, the partial pressure for O2, that is PO2, is 40, and in the blood that is deoxygenated, the partial pressure for CO2 is, that is PCO2, 45 in deoxygenated blood. For O2 in oxygenated blood, the partial pressure PO2 is 95 mmHg, and for CO2 in oxygenated blood, the partial pressure is 40 mmHg. In tissues, the partial pressure for O2, that is PO2 inside tissue, is 40 mmHg, and for CO2 the partial pressure PCO2 inside tissues is 45 mmHg, as you can see in this diagram. Let's see the next diagram of exchange of gases. A gradient is present for CO2 in the opposite direction, that is from tissues to the blood, and blood to alveoli is for CO2. Okay, this gradient is for CO2. And as the solubility of CO2 is 20 to 25 times higher than that of O2, the amount of CO2 that can diffuse through the diffusion membrane per unit difference in partial pressure is much higher compared to that of O2. The diffusion membrane is made up of three major layers, namely thin squamous epithelium of alveoli, the endothelium of alveolar capillaries, and the basement substance in between them. You can see this in the previous video diagrams. Then let's see, its total thickness is much less than a millimeter. Therefore, all the factors in our body are favorable for diffusion of O2 from alveoli to tissues and that of CO2 from tissues to alveoli. let's see the diagrammatic representation of the same table that we have seen a minute ago. So how this exchange of gases and partial pressure exerted looks like in the form of diagram. You can see inspired air coming inside from nostrils to the alveolar point we call alveolus, and you can also see the expired air which is thrown out from the alveolus towards the bronchus and towards the nostrils. Okay, inspired air is shown and expired air is shown, and the round shape is alveolus. Okay, from the pulmonary artery CO2 comes towards the alveolar structure, where the CO2 is taken inside in exchange of O2, and the O2 is sent towards the blood from pulmonary vein. Okay, then the pressure here of O2, that is partial pressure of O2, is 104 mmHg, and the partial pressure of CO2 is 40 mmHg as the exchange site in the alveolus. Okay, from where this CO2 comes, from pulmonary artery the CO2 comes inside the alveolus, and where this O2 goes from alveolus through pulmonary vein, it goes inside the heart. As you can see, the heart is acting as intermediate place from where the blood is exchanged. Which blood? Deoxygenated blood is come from the heart through pulmonary artery towards the alveolus, and oxygenated blood goes inside the heart through pulmonary vein structure. Okay, then the heart pumps the blood to the other body parts. Which blood? The oxygenated blood, which goes from the systemic veins inside the tissue structures. As you can see, the three rectangular parts are tissues. Okay, so from the heart the oxygenated blood goes through systemic arteries inside the tissues, where the oxygen is delivered to the tissues and the carbon dioxide is taken in exchange, where the pressure of O2, that is partial pressure of O2 PO2 is 95 mmHg, and partial pressure of CO2, that is PCO2, is 40 mmHg at the exchange site of oxygenated blood with tissues. Okay, from the tissues, when the carbon dioxide is taken up by the blood and oxygen is given up to the tissues, the CO2 comes from systemic veins again towards the heart. Here in the systemic veins and at the exchange of tissue to blood of CO2, the partial pressure for O2 is 40 mmHg and partial pressure for CO2 is 45 mmHg. Through systemic veins, the carbon dioxide comes again towards the heart, and the heart pumps this deoxygenated blood containing carbon dioxide high amount through the pulmonary artery again towards the capillary network surrounding the alveolar sac or alveolus. And like this, the exchange of CO2 and O2 occurs by using a simple diffusion process. Now let's discuss about the transport of gases. The transport of gases is occurring through blood, means blood is the medium of transport for O2 as well as for CO2 also. About 97% of O2 is transported by RBCs in the blood. How much amount of O2 is transported by RBCs in the blood? About 97% of O2 is transported by RBCs in the blood. The remaining 3% of O2 is carried in a dissolved state through the plasma that is present inside blood. Okay. Then nearly 20 to 25% of CO2 is transported by RBCs. How much percent? 20 to 25% of CO2 is transported by RBCs, whereas 70% of CO2 is carried as a bicarbonate. About 7% of CO2 is carried in a dissolved state through the plasma. So let's see about how this carbon dioxide and oxygen is transported through blood. Inside RBCs of blood, RBCs are red blood corpuscles or red blood cells. Inside the red blood cells which are present inside blood, hemoglobin pigment is present, which has affinity for both oxygen and carbon dioxide. But CO2 is carried by hemoglobin as carbaminohemoglobin and O2 is carried by hemoglobin as oxyhemoglobin structure. Okay, but the CO2 carried by the hemoglobin, that is as a carbaminohemoglobin, accounts for only 20 to 25% of the CO2. Okay, as we have discussed earlier. And the oxygen carried by hemoglobin is about 97% of the oxygen by RBC hemoglobin as oxyhemoglobin. How this occurs? The affinity of hemoglobin protein towards oxygen, which is responsible for transport of oxygen from alveolus to the tissue through heart, and the affinity for carbon dioxide of hemoglobin, which is higher than affinity towards oxygen, is responsible for carrying the CO2 from tissues through heart towards the alveolar structure in the lungs. Okay, so how this regulation of respiration occurs, let's see. Human beings have significant ability to maintain and moderate the respiratory rhythm to suit, but if this rhythm gets uncontrolled, it produces disorders of respiratory system such as asthma. Asthma is a difficulty in breathing causing wheezing due to inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles. Then emphysema is a chronic disorder in which alveolar walls are damaged, due to which respiratory surface is decreased. One of the major causes of this is cigarette smoking. So those persons who continuously perform cigarette smoking, disorder is emphysema. They definitely suffer from this emphysema disorder. Then the next disorders are occupational respiratory disorders that occur due to working in industries, especially which involves grinding of something, okay, etc., because small particles stuck up inside the lungs, alveolar structures. So this was a specialized simplified video to understand the respiratory system, which is part 6 of respiratory system. Thank you very much.